All right, well, welcome to the Sports Guys. Guys, thanks so much for joining tonight. This is our on-campus review. This is October 20th. We had another packed weekend of college sports, especially college football. It was really, truly unbelievable. We had several field stormings, not just one. So we'll go over those. How you doing, Robbie?
Doing great. Just enjoyed such a good weekend. Sports was a huge part of it. Family stuff. Really, really fun college activities this weekend. And man, there were a couple of surprises. There were definitely some upsets, which is kind of rare in college. Because by my definition, an upset is not necessarily an 8 beating a 10 or a 12. Like I'm talking unranked beating a ranked. There were upsets and there were definitely surprises, and there was a challenge to my theory, and I think I have some explaining to do, so to speak. So
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because your theory, I think, does hold most of the time, but sometimes
most
it
of the time.
doesn't. And we had a couple situations in both college and pro where it went against the grain. So we'll talk about that.
Yep. I definitely know that there's more to it, what I said. And so I've really kind of amended my theory. I still think it's a working theory that works most of the time. But you can overcome the stats. The two stats, of course, I'm talking about, if you missed our last episode, is if you get 6 or more sacks, you're going to win the game. And the other one is if the quarterback throws 40 or more times, you're going to lose the game. That's almost always true. But if the team that throws 40 or more times goes up against another team that throws a lot, that can negate the way it injures you by making you too one-dimensional. And the other thing is you can overcome losing by having a surplus of turnovers, or if your team got a lot of sacks and you threw the ball too much, you still can win. So there are some ways you can overcome it, but it's pretty much a formula for losing most of the time. So
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there were a couple other stats you mentioned, though, that are real key indicators last time that didn't play out this time. And I think maybe the most egregious I've ever seen was the Texas-Kentucky game, where you had Texas was outgained by more than twice the yardage by Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kentucky had 3 times the first downs as Texas, and time of possession, and then also turnovers. Actually, Texas gave the ball away more than Kentucky did. So there was like 4 different stats that you always point to that Kentucky led in all 4 of them and ended up losing the game, which makes no sense.
So that was a strange one.
So, your rules are really pretty accurate, but they don't always hold. And I think that was, of all the games I've seen, that was the strangest.
Basically, I would encapsulate it like this. You can overcome the fact that you're going to lose by doing something special. But if you don't do something special, you can't win if you're throwing the ball too much.
I've never seen a more depressed coach than Sark was after that game. And they were congratulating him on his win. And he kept shaking it off and saying, guys, we played terrible. Like, we shouldn't have won that game. That's basically what he was saying. And it's true. They really were horrific, like against a team that's not ranked.
Yeah. And, they look bad. I mean, so we'll get into that,
Their defense is really good, and so they're the only thing that's holding them in games. Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So those are some of the big things I saw. You have the SEC teams just keep beating each other up.
Yeah, I think the SEC is better again. Like I think Alabama and Georgia are for real. I think that
in some ways, except that
the Big Ten's down a little.
And I agree the SEC's back, and in some ways you're right, but the big teams aren't as dominant they used to be.
Oh, no question.
Ole Miss scored on their first 7 possessions against Georgia, and you don't see that in old days. Georgia doesn't get scored on 7 times in a row.
No, but they came storming back.
Yeah, no, they won the game, but
I think the SEC's kind of back.
It's back. I think the NIL and portal,
down, but
NIL and portal have smooth talent out enough
Yeah.
where even Alabama and Georgia have to struggle every week to get wins in the SEC. That's
Yes.
the way I look
Yeah.
at it.
I heard it simply said, you can't stockpile talent anymore. The starters are out there. You know, you're going to have your all pro or your NFL guys ready to go on the big programs, but you're not going to have 4 or 5 deep. Those guys are all going to get paid at lesser schools. And so the gap between them, there's going to be more parity going forward. I don't know that we've arrived there yet, but there will be.
I think you're right. I think you're right. The days of, I think Colin Cowherd said it this week. He said the days of the Alabama third string cornerback who's going to be an
Being
NFL
All
player.
American. Yeah.
He's not at Alabama anymore. He's at Memphis,
Yeah, he's
So,
at Memphis. He's at Wake Forest, whatever.
That's right. Well, we got a lot of games to get into. Let's go get it.
Let's go.
All right, let's do a shout out to our sponsor for this evening. That is DraftKings. DraftKings has been a longtime sponsor of ours. We really enjoyed using the app, placing small bets. It's a lot of fun. It adds a lot of juice to each game that you bet on. Right now, they've got a 100% match up to $100 if you do a new deposit. And they also give you 50 bonus bet dollars if you win your first bet, which is really a pretty good deal. So, Robbie, what do you think of DraftKings? How much have you enjoyed using it?
Oh, it's the best. I've been having so much fun with it. The other day I was thinking there is no better time than this right now to be enjoying all the different games and looking at the spreads and checking out, who's hurt and who's questionable. And then I thought about it. There are so many times of the year when that's true. March Madness is like that. And so DraftKings is fun all year round. It's incredible. You can do parlays. You can just, put some money down on a certain game, overs, scores. If it kind of just, you cater it to what you like. And I think they always have really good deals. I was attracted to that in the beginning. And then it's a really cool app. So DraftKings is awesome.
One feature I really like that they have that a lot of the other sites don't have, and that is the cash out option. So like this weekend, I did a bunch of parlays. I had a couple hit, I had a couple not hit, and then I had one that was a four team parlay, and I hit the first 3. The other one was tonight, and it was an over that I don't think is going to hit. And so this morning, I actually cashed out for triple my investment, which is a really cool function. I won't have to let that game run tonight and see if I hit it. If I didn't hit it, I'd lose the whole thing. So really cool feature there. I like the cash out option.
It is. I'm really glad they're a sponsor. It's a cool app.
Yep. So guys, check it out tonight. Like I said, they have the bonuses that you're available for if you want to go ahead and make your first deposit. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right. See you soon.
All right. This is our episode we're calling Upset City. You can see there's a couple field stormings that took place this weekend. I didn't think, Robbie, either one was quite as good as the Virginia one, but they were pretty darn good. The Arizona State win was really kind of epic for that program. It was a very close game, but what an amazing win. Their entire student body emptied out onto the field. And it was really, really fun to watch that. It was just the, culmination of what is so great about college football. You had the band out there. You had the president of the school out there.
Yeah, it was fun.
And then you had the students do the same at BYU when they beat their arch rival, Utah. That's a huge rivalry. And all the BYU students emptied out on the field. So what were your thoughts about some of these great upsets and great games over the weekend?
I wouldn't call that one such an upset, but what a great matchup. There were some great matchups this weekend. A&M, Arkansas, Indiana, Michigan State kind of was a whooping. But, Ole Miss, Georgia, 5 against 9. Tennessee, Alabama, 11 versus 6. Just really good games. And then Texas Tech, losing to Arizona State.
Yeah.
Tough.
That was a big upset. Arizona State had not been really playing very well this year. Although we knew they were capable after they went to the playoff last year.
Yeah.
But Texas Tech, that really hurts them because they're, from a conference that's a little bit lower conference. They need to win everything. So
I get the sense that Texas Tech is just a little bit of a pretender. They're they're not in the A&M category. I think A&M is the best team in Texas.
I think so too. 100% agree with you.
They look real good.
And I agree, BYU over Utah was not a huge upset because
No, but
essentially
really
they were
good
ranked
matchup.
about the same. So,
If you're a football fan, that's the kind of game you want to watch.
but the reason they emptied out on the field is because the game is really important. BYU is really good this year. They're moving up the ranks. Utah is also really good this year. They were undefeated in this game.
Yeah.
And
No,
BYU
they're 5-2 now, so they were 5-1.
So BYU has aspirations this year, and when you beat your arch rival, this would be like Virginia Tech. It just the emotion comes out.
What that victory does is it knocks Utah out, and so that's huge.
It is.
That's one of your big competitors. You just eliminated them, and now BYU is 7-0, so they're on track.
Yeah, they are.
For getting in.
It's another great game.
Utah getting out of there. So
it was an amazing game. I really enjoyed watching that. The Arizona State game, though, against Texas Tech was one of my favorite games of the weekend. It really was fun.
My favorite game of the weekend was Virginia and Washington State.
I like that one too. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Another great game is there on the bottom left with Diego Pavia, who goes in and beats LSU. And by the way, this wasn't really an upset in my mind. This was at home. Vanderbilt was actually favored by 3. And Pavia is playing that well. And Vanderbilt has been building a program for the last couple of years. And I know Brian Kelly's getting a lot of heat now from the LSU faithful. But if you watch this game from the very opening snap, Vanderbilt was the better team. So I know it's considered an upset, but the way Pavia and his boys are playing, I mean, they've got a real shot at the playoff.
Well, I wouldn't classify that as an upset. 10 versus 17. I mean, I'm not calling that an upset. I'm looking at that as a matchup. One thing I noticed this week is there's a lot of teams that are sort of misseeded. They're not seeded correctly.
I agree with you, but what's surprising about that, Robbie, is if it was in the first 3 weeks, we know the preseason polls are completely trash, but we're talking week 8, week 9, and they're still misseeded.
I think what we have is a situation where early on in week 1 or 2, we have a major team go down, like, Alabama beats Georgia, so Georgia drops a little too far. And so on their way back up, they've been misseeded. They might be the team that's favored, but they're the 12 team beating the 8 team, So I think some of these teams dropped too far and some didn't drop far enough. So some of the seedings are wrong. And the only way
I think LSU has been showing
by having the matchups, and the matchups will straighten it out for us.
You're right. I mean, I think LSU and Texas especially have been getting overseeded all year because of their name, because of the program's reputation.
And what they've done in the past.
And we found out both of them are not very good teams. That's what we found out.
That's right.
And Vanderbilt is a very good team. That's what we also found out.
Yeah.
They're
last year wasn't a fluke. Them beating Alabama last year was not a fluke. They're a solid program.
That's right. So another amazing upset there in the middle was Stanford when they took down Florida State. Florida State loses their 4th game in a row. And now Mike Norvell, their coach, is under fire again, just like he was last year. Stanford is the worst team in the ACC and found a way to get this one done. What are your thoughts about that game?
I feel really bad for Mike Norvell because I think he's a good coach. We were talking about it this morning on our drive to work, as we always do.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to fire him, and it's a mistake. Some of these firings are a mistake. I think James Franklin was a mistake. I think they're going to fire Mike Norvell, and that's a mistake. I have a feeling LSU is going to be really hard-pressed not to fire
Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly. I almost said Chip Kelly. Brian Kelly, and I think that's going to be a mistake.
And Billy Napier was fired yesterday. So.
That's probably the right call.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of talent on Florida, and they're not playing like there is.
And there's also a rumor that Nick Saban's actually interested in that job, and his representatives have reached out to Florida. So they might have felt pressure to, go ahead and do it now.
What's
in case
interesting is
they can get Nick
I
Saban.
saw an interview with Saban, and he talked about how he's more interested in the NFL right now because he doesn't want to coach in a league where the players are all free agents twice a
Mhm.
year, every year. You can be
Mhm.
a free agent twice a year. That's
I
insane.
think though, I think the reason he would be interested in Florida is one simple thing, and that is that they're the third richest school in the SEC. They have a lot more resources than even Alabama does. So he might look at that situation as, okay, you know what, I actually could compete there. So
Yeah, I think he's
we'll
very
see.
off put by the way the rules are right now. I think he could be
Mhm.
enticed back in if he thought there was a good chance of putting some restrictions on it. He said he likes that players are getting paid, but he's not in love with the fact that there's just it's the Wild West. It's you want to up and leave because your coach yells at you, and you want to be on a different team tomorrow. Go for it.
Mhm.
There's got to be some rules. It has to be in the off season, and there have to be some kind of contract signed where
Mhm.
you sign for more than 1 year, and you
Right.
only get paid if do you get paid if you get hurt? I mean, what if you
Mhm.
stay hurt all the time and you collect your 2 million a year? I don't
That's a
know.
good point. Well, really, I wanted to congratulate Stanford. What a great win for that program. You
Yeah,
have
excellent.
Frank Reich is the coach, and he's working for Andrew Luck, who's the GM for Stanford
Uh-huh.
now, and they're trying to turn that program around. So the other upset to talk about here is the Louisville Cardinals. One week they lose narrowly to Virginia. Everyone was kind of shocked by that because it was at Louisville, and then the week after that they knock off the number 2 team in the country, the Miami Hurricanes, and really looked like the entire day the better team and forced Carson Beck into 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about Louisville and how legit they are?
Yeah. Chris Bell is one of my favorite players in college football this year for Louisville, wide
Mhm.
receiver.
Mhm.
Wow, that guy is a playmaker.
He's something.
There's not many players in college football more exciting and who you would trust throwing the ball to more than him.
And this kid they've got, their starting running back, Brown, that's on the screen
Yeah,
here. He's really good too.
he's
He
a
can really
really good
run the
running
ball.
back. He had 113 yards. So I feel like Louisville is primed to have a really good season. They're in the middle of
Mhm.
having a good season. They're 5-1. They lost to Virginia in a real heartbreaker, but they had their hands full with Malachi Tony,
Mhm.
but they certainly did a good job overall. I mean,
I didn't think I'd see a Miami team get controlled that way this year, and they really got controlled by Louisville. Louisville's defense was really solid, so
yeah, yeah. I
it was
mean,
really,
when you have 4 interceptions and the other team has 0, you're in huge trouble.
and they seemed to be in the backfield more than Miami did. Miami has the NFL players. I don't know. It
Yeah,
was pretty impressive. You look to the right there of the 9 teams in the top 25 that lost this weekend. This is a pretty big weekend for top 25 losses. Miami, Ole Miss, Texas Tech, we talked about,
mhm.
LSU to Vanderbilt, Tennessee to Alabama, SC lost to Notre Dame. Memphis had their first loss of the season, which is really crushing for them because they were kind of an outside dark horse for that number 12 spot in the playoff.
Yeah, it kind
U-
of snuffs out their candle a little bit.
Utah, like you said, probably just got knocked out. And then Nebraska had an
Yeah,
inexplicable loss to an unranked team. And everybody's kind of scratching their heads. They weren't even
that
really
was a
competing.
strange one. That was a strange one.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts about all the upsets? Upset City?
Um, there haven't been too many upsets this year in terms of real, true upsets, like shockers. But there were a couple this week. Like it's
Yeah,
it's
that's right.
teams are starting to wear down a little, a few injuries here and there, and teams are vulnerable that shouldn't be. So
That's true.
it's
That's
pretty
true.
exciting. There's
It
more
is.
parity than there has been.
It really is. So getting into the Louisville Miami game 24-21, like I said, it didn't even feel that close. Carson Beck really reverted back to the quarterback that he was at Georgia, and Kirby Smart kind of gave up on him because he was just too inconsistent, especially in big games. You mentioned Brown and Bell had these huge games for Louisville.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about Louisville. What do you think this does for Miami, their chances? I mean, they went from what looked like cruising to the playoff to now a little
I
bit
think
looking
they'll
in.
regroup. I still think they're playoff bound because I think they're going to come back from this. Louisville's a very good team. So
Yeah.
um, there's no shame in losing to Louisville. I think the way they did it was horrible. I mean, 4 picks. Granted, not all of them were Beck's fault.
This was
But
also at Miami,
but
which kind of surprised
there
me.
were plenty that were his fault and were terrible throws. So,
I did not think Louisville could beat Miami at Miami. That was really surprising.
yeah,
Um,
Miami
but
just didn't look good, you
what
know?
do you think about Carson Beck? Is he starting to revert
He's
back into
okay.
what he was? And
No, he had a bad
why
game.
why was he holding his elbow the whole second half?
He was pushing too hard against a really good team. There was a
Mhm,
lot of pressure on him, and they just didn't get it done.
mhm.
They didn't get it done. They
Do you think that's
had 63 yards rushing total, which is
do you think
not
that's
enough.
do you think the surgically repaired elbow is a problem?
I don't know, but I think he's okay. I think they need to get Malachi Tony the ball, but they need to spread the ball around a little more. And I felt like Miami's defense kind of had some problems with Louisville's offense.
Mhm,
And they couldn't stop Chris Bell, 136 yards,
mhm.
9 catches.
We remember him well.
Yeah, like you said, Isaac Brown ran the ball well, 113 yards. They definitely were a balanced attack. And Miller Moss is a good quarterback. I think he should be considered for the NFL later rounds. Definitely NFL backup potential there. And defensively, Louisville didn't get any sacks, but with the 4 turnovers, I mean, they did their job.
Well, I will say I'm really interested to see how Miami responds to this loss. That's gonna be very interesting this coming weekend. See if they come out
Yeah.
storming. So
You know
Nebraska, I
what's
think next
wild? You know what's wild was the Cardinals. They played kind of the field position game. They punted 6 times. They got turnovers, and they just didn't do anything stupid.
Mhm.
And they
That's
let
true.
Miami kind of destroy themselves.
That's right. Just sat back and kept picking it off over and over.
Yeah, they bend but don't break and wait for your opportunity to make a play on the ball and pick the ball off and, so anyway.
Well, this next game was really kind of surprising because everyone thinks that Matt Rule is auditioning for the Penn State job. Penn State, of course, is his alma mater, and he's one of the top 3 candidates there. And with that situation, they come out and they completely lay an egg against Minnesota, 24-6.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about this? And we thought Nebraska had kind of turned the corner as a program, but really didn't look like it in this game.
Yeah, I think Minnesota surprised them. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
Although
I
Minnesota's not terrible. I mean, they're always
know they're
tough.
not terrible, but it
Yeah.
really came down to that Minnesota's defense was the star of the show. I mean,
Mhm.
they had 9 sacks.
Mhm.
You're going to win 100% of the time when you have 9 sacks,
Mhm. That's right.
10 tackles for loss. So they were a nightmare. They were in the
Mhm.
backfield and they were causing all kinds of problems. And
Mhm.
Nebraska just didn't have an answer for it. You know,
Yeah, that's right.
I it was one of those excruciating games. Dylan Raiola, um, 17 of 25, 177 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, 39.4 QBR. It's just super mediocre. Nothing terrible, but
And
he was just running for his life and constantly getting sacked. He was giving up a lot
this
of sacks.
this running back from Minnesota was really good. He had a huge
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
almost
Darius
150
Taylor,
yards. Mhm.
148 yards and a touchdown. He was certainly a weapon.
No doubt. So I don't know. This obviously will drop Nebraska out of the top 25. Whether Rule is a significant candidate for Penn State, we'll find out. So Ohio State takes on a Wisconsin team that essentially can't score. I mean, this is not just in this game; they have not been able to score this year, and they win 34-0. This was a complete breeze. Sayan didn't even play in the fourth quarter. Anything you can take from this one other than Carmel Tate is one of the best
Carnell Tate.
receivers?
Carnell Tate was the other one.
The guy's
Besides,
unbelievable.
besides the Louisville, he might be the best receiver in the country.
He really might be. I mean,
They,
everyone's saying
you
he's
know,
the second best on his team, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, they might have 1 and 2.
yeah.
Jeremiah Smith is clearly known as the best receiver and possibly football player in the country, but
Mhm.
Carnell Tate's been more productive last couple weeks.
He
But
has.
let's face it, Jeremiah
Mhm.
Smith has been very productive.
But do you think Tate would be as productive without Smith on the field? I don't think so.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure though. I mean, some of the high point things he was doing and catching in double coverage.
But think about it. He's getting the number 2 and number 3 DB for the other team.
Yeah, but he's also getting a safety and a DB. Like he's getting double teamed.
True. No, he's unbelievable. He's going to be an incredible pro.
He's ready for the pros right now.
Yeah.
But Tate had 111 and 2 touchdowns, and those were contested catches. A lot of those were serious defense, very strongly defended plays.
Ohio State's the only team this year out of all of the major programs that just continues to hold serve every week. Yeah, they're not even challenged.
Yeah, and they don't look like anybody's really giving them a run for it.
Zane gets better and better every week. He looked really comfortable in this game.
Steady. Yeah. And Wisconsin has NFL players. So
they do.
There's no joke over there. And he's 36 of 42. This was one of my exceptions to the rule. Was when you have those receivers, you might want to just throw it every down. Because
do you think Indiana's the only team that has a chance to knock Ohio State off this year?
Most likely. So. Although I'm starting to think Georgia and Alabama are for real. Maybe one of them can jump up there and take one more step to get onto the mantle with them. But I'm telling you, don't sleep on Georgia or Alabama right now. One of them is going to come out and keep getting better.
Both getting really good QB play as well. So
this
Indiana
game right here was one of the exceptions to my 40 throw rule. Julian Sand was just dinking and dunking and throwing it all over the yard, and he was not under any pressure. He was hitting everyone all over the place, and he had these guys making acrobatic all-star catches. And so it's an exception to my rule. But that's because the level of wide receiver is so high that it's an exception to my rule.
And they also can run the ball. I mean, Indiana can do it all. He was 24 for 28. It's about as perfect as you can get. 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to watch Indiana right now. They're at such a high level. So I think a lot of people believe Mendoza has now moved above Dante Moore in the, top 3 draft pick kind of level, that he may be the number 1 pick. So we'll see.
Well, I like Mendoza.
This game was unbelievable. Arkansas is a team that for a couple weeks in a row now has not had a coach. Their coach got fired a couple weeks ago. And after the coach got fired, they're one of those teams that actually is playing better without a coach. And they've been giving all these big programs huge runs every week and almost beating them.
These are really interesting. The draft, when you go to DraftKings and you're up against guys that are listening to these pundits. These pundits are amazing. I listen to it a lot on sports radio in the mornings before the games start. They're always talking about how they know the interim coach and how he's going to bring out the hardest, the most in them. So pick the team that has
they often do
spread. Yeah. And usually they play really hard.
Yeah.
They play really hard for that coach. And they do. They beat the spread. So
what's funny is Arkansas has lost 3 in a row, and in all 3 cases they covered the spread in all 3, and that's without a coach. So,
right.
So they lose 45-42. Texas A&M rolls up the offense. Reed looked really good. Arkansas also looked really good. They had kind of at ease scoring on this Texas A&M defense. So
I like Marcel Reed. I have since he hit the scene last year. I felt like he was really a running quarterback last year. I've been impressed with his throwing this year. He's taken that step, Obviously he gets he's 6 for 55 yards rushing and a touchdown. But clearly he can throw 280 yards throwing, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 83 QBR.
He loves throwing to this kid Blake. He made some of the nicest catches I've seen all weekend.
Yeah.
And then this kid Washington for Arkansas can really run the ball. I mean, they can really run the ball. They have a big offensive line. They're one of those, standard SEC schools that's right in the middle of the pack. But if they played just a general team anywhere in the country, they beat them. They just can't beat the top boys in the SEC.
Right. You're talking about Arkansas?
Yeah, Arkansas. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was for a second talking about Marcel Reed for A&M.
No, I know.
So
I was talking about Washington with Arkansas. He's one of the best backs in the SEC. So.
Yeah.
So Ole Miss scored on their first 5 possessions against Georgia and still lost. It
I
was
think Georgia's tough.
pretty amazing to watch. Georgia kind of found a way to stiffen up in the second half and get just enough offense in the fourth quarter. So Georgia found a way to stiffen up in the second half and get just enough offense in the fourth quarter to win this game. They were basically losing the entire day. And Stockton really stepped up. I was impressed how he played in the fourth quarter. Looked a little bit like one of the guys who wins late in the NFL or something. Any other thoughts about Georgia Ole Miss?
I think Stockton's really good. Excuse me. God, sorry.
No, just get some water.
I did. It's starting to help a little. Yeah, so I think Stockton's a really good player. He's kind of come up as being thought of as the backup, and this is his team now. I think he's growing the role. But if you look at his stats, man, 26 of 31,
I know.
289, 4 touchdowns, no picks, 96.9 QBR. He had the highest QBR of any quarterback.
I know.
Yeah, he's got a lot of talent for sure, but it's the SEC, and he's going against Ole Miss, who has just as much talent.
That's right.
Trinidad Chambliss has been very impressive this year. He wasn't quite as good in this game. 19 of 36. He missed a lot of throws, but he's still a good leader, very good quarterback, and he had 2
He's still uber talented. Man, is he fun to watch.
Yeah, he's been one of my guys to watch for the Heisman. But this loss really hurts them.
It does.
But yeah, so I think Georgia is underrated at the moment. I think they are balanced attack. They can throw the ball. They can run the ball. Stockton's a good leader. He's not super flashy. He's not being looked at very seriously by the NFL, but I think he's a very good college quarterback. And
are you worried about Georgia's defense? Well, they've been giving up a lot of units and a lot of points. It's kind of concerning.
They don't get any pressure, so I am worried about that. I think ultimately they'll be able to stop the run against some good teams, but I think they're going to struggle to because Ole Miss only had 88 yards rushing total with 4 different backs carrying. So 3 backs and a quarterback.
And
but they don't get any pressure, so they're not too hard to throw against in general.
If you're Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, are you just very frustrated at this point? You come into this game 6-0. You never feel like you can get over the hump with any of these big dogs. You always have a good record, but you never get over the hump on the big game. Do you just feel frustrated?
Yeah. You're frustrated. I think that there were some indicators that Georgia was the better team. If you look at first downs, 21 to 34. That's not very close.
Wow.
510 yards for Georgia, 351 for Ole Miss. Granted, a lot of that was in the second half, but it's 221 yards rushing against 88 for Ole Miss. The stats show kind of a dominating.
The better team won. Yeah.
The better team won.
What about sacks?
Time of possession, 37 minutes to 22. That's a huge spread on offense.
What about sacks?
No sacks for Georgia. No tackles for loss for Georgia. And Ole Miss had, was it 1 or 2 sacks? Let me check.
And that's probably why they're giving up so many yards and points, because they're not dominating the way they usually do, Georgia.
Ole Miss had 1 sack and 3 tackles for loss. That Georgia monster offensive line is tough to get around. 1 sack is an okay game. 0 sacks is not great. And that's what Georgia's got to figure out a way to get a little more pressure.
I agree. Well, we'll see if they can progress beyond this, because when they play a team like Ohio State or Oregon, they can really roll it up on you. Tennessee goes into Alabama, Tuscaloosa, and loses pretty handily to Alabama. I was thinking this would be a closer game than it was. Aguilar, I think, is a really good quarterback, plays really, really well this year. They can run the ball, they can pass the ball, they play pretty good defense, and yet they go up against this Alabama squad and just were not really a match. Thoughts about this game?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of speaks to what I was saying. I think Alabama and Georgia are coming up. One of them might falter down the stretch. We'll see. I don't expect both of them to make it, all the way up there, but I think they're going to push each other, and one of them is going to succeed. Ty Simpson has been really impressive, and I think they have a balanced attack. Jeremy Bernard was awesome. He was very dual threat. He had 60 yards receiving and 49 yards rushing. He can really hurt you in a bunch of ways. So, I think that Alabama's got a lot to worry about if you're trying to defend them.
It feels like Alabama's defense is playing just a little bit better than Georgia's is right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Alabama had 4 sacks and 8 tackles for loss against a good offensive line. So, Tennessee's D played well too, but Alabama's just a little too much.
And when Bama and Georgia matched up earlier in the year, Alabama won. So there you go.
I do think Alabama's slightly better, mostly because Ty Simpson. I think he's the factor that can take away Gunnar Stockton.
I agree with that. 100% agree with that. Texas Tech, of course, we mentioned this game. They go down to Arizona State, one of the big upsets of the weekend. Arizona State was unranked, although they do have a really good team, went to the playoff last year. Their quarterback, Levitt, has been kind of on the radar for a while. But everyone just assumed Texas Tech would take care of this game because they've been playing so well. And they go in and they stub their toe against Arizona State in Arizona. What was your takeaway on this game?
I mean, it was a fascinating upset. It is Arizona State's no joke. They're 5-2. They're 3-1 in the Big 12, and they really brought it. Sam Leavitt. This was the other exception. There were 2 where quarterbacks threw a bunch of times and still won.
And he had 47 throws.
Yeah, he had 47 throws. So there were 2 exceptions to my rule here. But if you think about it, he had two wide receivers over 100 yards and a third one at 66 yards. So he had some outstanding wide receiver play. And then on top of that, there were, let's see. On top of that, the defense was pretty solid for Arizona State. They had an interception, and let's see what else.
One thing I noticed in watching Levitt play is he is so efficient in the red zone. It's crazy. He knows where he's going with the ball, and he puts it right on a dime every time. So he's fun to watch. Really enjoy it.
Yeah, Texas Tech had the pick, but look at the time of possession: 37 minutes for Arizona State and 22 for Texas Tech. That's almost twice as much time. They hold the ball, and they just kind of dominated, and Texas Tech couldn't stop them.
That's right. Texas Tech did have a furious rally in the fourth quarter, just came up short. So congratulations to Arizona State. This was a great win and really fun to watch their students empty out onto the field after this big one.
When you throw the ball that much and it's safe to do so, that's an indictment on your secondary and on your lack of pressure.
That's true.
So Texas Tech did have 4 sacks, which is pretty good.
The next one to talk about was that one we mentioned with Pavia. Vanderbilt, the number 17 team, is actually the host against LSU, comes in as number 10. Nussmeier, we've mentioned, had not been playing great all year, just playing okay, not terrible, but he's not what we thought we were getting with him. Pavia ran the ball a lot in this game. He's kind of like a running back playing quarterback, but it was really impressive to see how Vanderbilt handled LSU this entire game. Really kind of controlled them down the stretch. Any other takeaways on this game?
Well, we started being impressed with Pavia last year. That game against Alabama. I mean, I'm not going to forget that anytime soon. But he's a dual threat quarterback. He had 160 yards throwing a touchdown, QBR of 93.1, which is off the charts. And then he had 17 for 86 yards rushing and 2 more touchdowns. So he's a one-man machine.
You realize every week this year we've been saying Vanderbilt's not a joke anymore. They're not the basement of the SEC. It happens every week.
Right.
And finally, again, they beat LSU. And we're like saying the same thing. They're not a joke anymore.
Yeah, they're still not a joke.
Yeah.
No, they did great. I mean, they kept LSU offense under control, off the field quite a bit. Pavia, I mean, he accounted for 3 touchdowns. It's pretty impressive stuff.
Do you think Ryan Kelly's in any trouble?
I think he is in trouble, but he shouldn't be. Time of possession, Vanderbilt whooped him 36-23, basically.
They did.
And, you can't be dominated that much. Rushing 239 to 100. Domination.
Well, Pavia had almost 100 yards himself and 2 touchdowns.
I know.
I'm really impressed with Vanderbilt, and I'm kind of rooting for them. They're my SEC team now.
Yeah.
So Georgia Tech takes out a really good Duke team. This was really close in the first half. It was 7-7.5.
Yeah.
I thought if Georgia Tech was going to stub its toe this year, it was probably going to be the Duke because they play really good football. This kid Mensa, your rule held. He passed for 44 times and 2 touchdowns. But
yeah, my rule definitely held several times this week, but twice it let up. And the reasons were basic, that they overcame that in another way. Usually it was some kind of mismatch in turnover battle or some kind of big sack number or something.
Mintz is pretty good, but I will say Haynes King just has that it factor. It's hard to describe what it is, but like he just gets it done when his team needs it. He feels a lot like Chandler Morris does for Virginia this year. He's the kind of guy who he'll go the scramble to the corner and dive over the pylon. He's just that kind of guy. He'll do whatever it takes to get Georgia Tech to win.
It's not common for a quarterback to get 120 yards rushing. Like some will get 60 or 70. They might even get all the way up to 100. But 120 yards is a good day for a running back. Like that is a rare occurrence when a quarterback gets all the way up to 120 yards rushing.
So would you agree Georgia Tech right now is the most likely to go to the playoff for the ACC?
Probably, yes.
Yeah, I think so too. Because you look at the rest of their schedule, I'm
not counting out Miami.
Well, they're going to send 2, so Miami might be the second.
Yeah,
possibly.
Miami might. I think the other one's in play. Basically, that's really how I would say it.
The only team Georgia Tech has on the schedule that they should be worried about is Georgia, the last game of the year, but they're not an ACC team. So, I still think Georgia Tech will be in the ACC championship game. I don't know who they're going to play. I guess we'll find out.
My biggest fear with Georgia Tech is that their defense. I think ultimately when they play the big boys, they're going to be in trouble. When they played Duke, they have a wide receiver, Cooper Barcate or Barcati. Actually, I watched some of this. I did not hear how they said his name, but he had 13 for 172 yards. So when you start catching the ball a lot like that, and you're on film, and they set out to, okay, we're going to take that guy away, and they can't. That's when you got a really good player, and that's also when your defensive players are not going to match up well against Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Like, how are you going to do against that if Barcate is lighting you up for 172?
And I think Georgia Tech is around where they should be right now, around 12. I don't think they're a top 10 team.
I agree.
So the teams you're talking about, they're out of their league right now.
Yeah.
So they're really out of the league of ACC, really. So.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too.
But this was a great win. Duke's a really tough team. This game was fantastic. I watched the whole thing. Maeva comes into Notre Dame really on a hot streak. Everyone was thinking that maybe USC could get it done. Notre Dame, of course, had lost their first 2 games of the year, and then they had rattled off 4 in a row. Came into this game with 2 of the best backs in football. They think Jeremiah Love might go top 8 in the NFL draft. and Notre Dame just controlled this game from beginning to end. And I really kind of felt like they just had better personnel on both lines of scrimmage. That's how it felt. Huge holes for the running backs.
Yeah, both the running backs for Notre Dame did well. Jadarian Price did amazing.
He did.
But more importantly, Jeremiah Love, 24 carries for 228 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
Jadarian Price, 13 for 87 and a touchdown. And he returned a kick for a touchdown. So
is there any question whether Jeremiah Love's the best back in football this year? I don't think so.
I don't think there's any question.
Yeah.
But Jadarian Price would probably be top 5 or 6 in the country.
Well, and he'd be the starting running back on any other
And
team.
definitely starting on any other team in the country, probably.
Right. That's right. So
But-
Maeva played pretty well. I thought he did his best. He only had about a 50% completion percentage, which isn't very good, but he fought hard. And I think USC, they're a good team this year. They're much improved from last year.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame was by far the best team on this field.
Yeah, I think my stat holds there. 42 throws for Maeva, and that's too much. That shows that you're behind, so you're losing. Then you start making mistakes. I don't think they ran the ball enough. 68 yards rushing is not enough, especially when Notre Dame's running it for 306.
I will say, USC. I will say USC was in the wilderness for a while, talent-wise, but they've got talent now. I mean, some of these wide receivers Maeva's throwing to are fantastic.
Yeah,
these 6'4" guys.
I don't think they're playoff kind of team, but I think that they are top 25 just barely. They're in that 20 to 25.
You know what? They're not far away. They need maybe one more recruiting class. They're not far away.
Yeah, 1 or 2 recruiting classes. They'll need to work. They'll need to put in place a new quarterback when Maeva leaves, obviously. So you never know if you can go up that level. But yeah, they're getting closer. They definitely have talent on this team now, more than they've had in a couple of years since back when they were in their heyday. Obviously, they've had some glory days there, and a lot of that's back. It's a good team now. If you're in USC, you're definitely enjoying going.
USC's defense last year was their weakness, and this year it's definitely improved. But one thing I noticed is Notre Dame saw a weakness with USC, and it's their run defense.
Run game. Yeah.
They just couldn't stop it. It was 8 yards a carry all the way down the field. So
they did a nice job against CJ Carr, though. Carr didn't do very much. He had a 32.8 QBR.
Mm-hmm.
He had a touchdown, a pick. 16.
He didn't really need to.
He didn't do much. He just handed the ball off a lot.
Rob Pope would have won this game by handing to Jeremiah Love.
I think I might have. If I have Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price come in behind him to give him breathers, I think I'm in good shape. And occasionally throw to Jordan Faison, but
so the poor season of South Carolina continues with everyone scratching their heads at what happened to Lenore Sellers. Mateer comes back his second game after his injury, plays much, much better this week. Didn't even have to throw it very much, but he did play well when he did throw. And Oklahoma just kind of handled business 26-7.
He didn't look like he was trying to play hurt.
Yeah.
Mateer looked like Mateer's supposed to look, which is competent, qualified, throwing the ball well, smart player. Good numbers. Not great. He didn't have to do anything too special, but 18 of 26, 150 yards and a touchdown, no picks, 87.5 QBR. Good, solid outing. He just.
And you saw Oklahoma ran the ball really well. And what do you think about South Carolina? Why have they collapsed like this? I mean, they were really the kind of sexy dark horse team this year.
I think that they were analyzed to be good when the talent level had slipped and nobody knew it because they thought Lenora Sellers was going to be have an amazing season, but I just don't think he's transcendent enough to overcome some of the problems on their roster. And they're in the SEC, so there's no room for error. You're just going to get pounded every week if you're not playing unbelievable football.
And their defense is like a sieve this year. So they just can't stop the run. And you're going to lose a lot of SEC games. You can't stop the run.
Right.
So it's
Especially,
sad to see.
there's nothing worse than expecting to be good and you're not, and then you're also in the SEC.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just so unforgiving.
it's a problem.
It's savage.
It
It's
is.
just, you're not going to be okay. You're
Yeah.
going to get your coach fired. I mean, I know they're not talking about
No.
Beamer being fired, but how many seasons can you have like that where you disappoint and you
But
still
is this going to force him to rethink the Virginia Tech job, maybe? Shane Beamer,
Well,
potentially.
he said that South Carolina is his dream job. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of chatter about him at Virginia Tech. I
Mhm.
think he likes having his own thing. He probably likes it in Columbia, and he wants to build something special. I think he likes being in the SEC. All the cameras are on, the lights
Yep.
are brighter. You got more NIL to play
I
with.
hate to say this, but I would stay at South Carolina over Virginia Tech. I'm just talking
Absolutely.
about where the programs are right now.
It's
So,
not even close.
yeah.
For me, it's not close. Would I be happy with what's going on if I'm the coach? No, I'd be upset. I'd say this year's not going well. But I wouldn't throw it all away just because of that. I'd try and regroup,
Mhm.
come back harder, work harder on getting more NIL money, get a couple more players, and see if
Mhm.
you can retool it. You have to bet on yourself,
Yep. So this
So,
next game, we saw the other field storming in the first slide tonight, and that is BYU beats their arch rival Utah and goes to 7-0, and Utah continues their sprint up the rankings towards playoff area. Anything else to say about this game? We've already mentioned most of it, but anything out of the stats that you saw?
I really like BYU this year. I
Can
I
you
started
say that,
watching them.
Robbie?
What's
Can you
that?
say that? Start that over again because you kind of faded out.
I really like BYU this year. They've been very impressive to me. I've watched them do some incredible work. They're 7-0, 4-0 in the Big 12. They really are under the radar. I think they're a playoff team.
I think so too.
I think they're a playoff team. They've got kind of everything you need to put it all together. They didn't whip up on Utah or anything, but they're just really tough.
Well, Utah's a really good team. I mean, that's a good win.
Utah's a great win. I mean, this was one
Yeah.
of the best matchups of the weekend,
Mhm.
and they just can kind of hit you in different ways, especially on the ground.
Mhm.
They can pound the ball. They're very physical, and I don't know. I like their defense a lot. They fly
Me too.
around.
They can run the ball really well too.
They can run
I
the
love
ball and they
running.
can play defense. And they
Mhm.
have a bunch of tough, sort of unsung heroes on their team, bunch of lunch pail guys. And they're just a very exciting team. Something always exciting happens when I watch them.
Mhm.
It always feels like something exciting is going on.
And you think this knocked Utah out?
I think it did. I think that
Mhm.
knocked them out this time.
Because they're a really good team this year, and they certainly had their chances.
They're gonna have to
Mhm.
win. They're gonna have to run the gamut to stay in there.
Yeah.
That's
Congratulations to
what I
BYU. That was a
think.
big
Yeah, I'm
win.
impressed by BYU.
This game was crazy. Auburn was winning early, had a pretty nice lead even into the third quarter. They were at home. It looked like Missouri was about to lose their second straight. And then all of a sudden, Missouri picks it up and scores a very late touchdown to tie it up. And then they end up winning it in overtime. And it felt almost like they stole this game from Auburn. We know Missouri's a really good team, but it just felt very deflating. And they're saying now Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat because of it. Any thoughts about this one?
So I watched a lot of this one, and I felt like Auburn was a little deflated after last week. Um, I was pretty impressed with Missouri in general. Their defense, they had 5 sacks and 9 quarterback or sorry tackles for loss. So that
Mhm.
was very impressive. They really brought the wood.
They do have a really good defense. You're right.
They have a really good defense. And I think they just played kind of not mistake free, but they made mistakes at times where it wasn't catastrophic. And
Well, and Auburn has not been scoring much this year. That's their problem, is they don't put a lot of points on the board. And I think that Missouri, like their quarterback made 2 picks, Prabula,
yeah,
but Auburn didn't make him pay for it. So it's like you're
right.
not going to win a lot of games. You can't put points on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Prabula played okay, well enough. With that defense, you don't have to do very much. And so, but Missouri definitely dominated in most of the stat categories. It
Mhm.
was either even or Missouri was ahead. There were very few that that Auburn did win. They did rush the ball a little bit more, but
So in the age of college coaches, there are so many of them on the hot seat. Do you think Hugh Freeze is in trouble? This is the 3rd year in a row that he has a team that is underperforming in the eyes of the Auburn faithful.
I think so because I think people are impatient right now watching the Alabamas and the Georgias figuring it out. They're certainly not all the way back, but they're getting better, and it's got to be terrifying for Auburn because Auburn wants to beat Alabama. I mean, let's just face
Mhm.
it. And
Mhm.
so they want to set themselves up to beat Alabama by having a good season where they got, people they believe in behind under center and on defense, like, in general. But yeah, I mean, this was an amazing matchup, double overtime. And this was just one of those
Yeah.
SEC
Great
dogfights.
SEC game. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always so many good SEC games every year.
It was one of the best games of the weekend for sure,
It was.
So,
Congratulations to Missouri. So this
yeah.
game was very special. I was actually had the opportunity to watch this game with our father, who had just come in from overseas, and we sat down and watched this game together. And in the first half, we're just absolutely depressed because Washington State really took it to us, and they really kind of
Yeah.
dominated and controlled the game in the first half. And we looked at each other at halftime and thought to ourselves, "Are we going to be able to pull this out?" Because we clearly were the favored team. We had a lot to play for, but coming off the big win over Louisville, we were a little bit flat. And so in the after press conference after the game, Tony Elliott talked about how he went into the locker room and said that he didn't yell at anybody, didn't raise his voice, looked them all in the eye, had them all standing up, looked them in the eye, and just said, "Look, guys, go win this game. This should mean a lot to you guys. You need to go get this." And he said, "I don't need to tell you anything else. I don't need to yell at you. You know what to do. Do your jobs and go get it." And they did. It was pretty amazing to watch the turnaround. They made Washington State punt the first 2 possessions of the 3rd quarter. They
Yeah.
had really long drives and scored. They had a really long drive in the 4th quarter and scored a touchdown and just kind of got it back to the point where they could win this game. So, any thoughts about this one?
Yeah. So I watched it. I was on the edge of my seat, of course, and I was looking at the stats. I thought Eckhouse played a little better than that for Washington State. I know that the second
Mhm.
half was a little tougher for them. They looked kind of better in the first half, and I felt like they were getting it done. But those 2 picks were crucial. And I would say that neither quarterback really set the world on fire in this game because the
Mhm.
defenses were pretty stout.
Mhm.
But I would say that it was a better team win for Virginia because the defense had to make more pivotal plays.
Mhm.
2 important picks. Uh, the crowd started to go crazy. I was reading an article talking about it was a reporter for Washington State that was there covering the game. And he said that the frenzy of activity from the crowd in the end zone down where they were fairly
Mhm.
deep in Virginia territory was so loud that it was literally deafening. Like it made you kind of a little deaf. And he said that was one of the reasons why their guard kept jumping off sides. He jumped off several plays in a row, the same guy. And they were making multiple mistakes there as the energy rose. So the crowd played a big factor in this game. in getting Virginia to get juiced up and kind of come back to
Do
get
you
all
think
the.
it really helped us being at home? And I agree with that.
It did, no question.
I
They
will
said
say,
so, and we said so, and then it played a factor in the punt at the end, where Virginia was tied. The punt where their guy was standing on the 1 yard line, and their other guy freaked out and started fair catching it, which he shouldn't have done. That was a massive mistake.
right.
And so the guy who caught the ball didn't even fair catch it. The guy next to him did. It was not his call to do it. They should not have downed the ball on their own 1 yard line, and that's what
Right.
led to the safety. So that was another mistake made because the jitters of being, in a raucous on the road.
Huge mistake by special teams. Yeah. You know what's
Huge,
interesting, Robbie?
huge.
I sat here and watched this ending with the safety to win it and thought to myself, good teams find ways to win. Some weeks you have to win 41-38 when your defense isn't playing well. You just have to win a shootout. And we've done that with Chandler Morris. We've had big weeks offensively. You have weeks where you have to win with a punt return for a touchdown. Other weeks you have to win with defense. And this week it felt like the defense had to lift the offense, which didn't play well. We couldn't run the ball.
That's right.
Chandler Morris had a really subpar game, and the defense had to pick us up, and they did.
Yeah, we punted the ball 6 times, which is a lot, and we kicked a bunch of field goals, and we really just said we're going to hang with you until you make enough mistakes where we're going to beat you, and that's what happened. Our offense was good enough, but we got hurt badly when Cam Ross went down, and when Ross went down because of that, what I thought was targeting that they didn't call. They called it off. That was clearly targeting.
I
And
agree.
it knocked him out of the game, and then he was under concussion protocol. He is our best player on offense, at least. And so when Ross goes out of the game, you could feel a little bit of deflation.
I couldn't understand why our offensive line that's been so good all year couldn't run block. And then secondly, why Morris had so many problems getting it to our wide receiver. It wasn't just Cam Ross. We've got Harris and lots of other guys, and we struggled to make offensive plays all day.
Well, I was a little surprised that we didn't try and run the ball a little bit more, but we tried a bunch of different running backs, and it was okay. We did okay, but at the end of the day, Jamal Edrin was outstanding. He had 102 yards receiving on 5 catches. He kind of carried us. There were, Trell Harris, and there were a couple other guys who made some plays. But at the end of the day, we probably would be in trouble if we played a really high-powered offense on that day. But we knew we kind of just needed to hang with this team and find a way to win in the late second half.
And what was interesting was we knew going into this game that Washington State was better than their record because they had just done that to Ole Miss. They took Ole Miss down to the wire. And we were preaching all week about not taking this team for granted and all that. And yet we still came out flat, which I found interesting. I'm not sure why that is. But anyway, very proud of the boys. Cam Robinson was named player of the game with his game-winning safety and a bunch of his other pressures during the game.
He had some hits. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, he's a beast.
They look like NFL.
He is rising up the NFL boards. Cam Robinson.
Yeah. You'd be crazy not to look at him as a first or second round pick. I'd take him late first round.
So another team that's been just shocking this year is South Florida. It started with their big win over Florida. And all year they've been doing this to people, this 48-13 beatdown of Florida Atlantic. Any thoughts about South Florida and why nobody really talks about them?
Well, they had a bad loss 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so they got kind of overlooked from there. But I actually watched some of that game. Actually, no. I saw them play a couple weeks ago, and they looked a little disappointing.
They can pass the ball. They can run the ball. They play good defense.
They're very good. They're a very good team. And they should be taken a little more seriously. I mean, 19 might be a little too low for them. I think they're more like 15.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of talented players. The
They
cupboard
do.
is full. Like,
It
you
is.
know, cupboard's full.
Yeah,
The
watch out
quarterback,
for South Florida.
Byron Brown, had 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, QBR of 90.3, one of the highest of the day. On top of that, he had 14 carries for 111 yards and a touchdown. So he's
Mhm.
he's putting up huge numbers. I know it's Florida Atlantic, FAU, but that's a big day for
Yeah,
anybody.
I'm
And
impressed with South Florida. Just watch out for them.
yeah, they look good.
See if they can slip into that number 12 spot in the playoff. We'll see.
Yeah.
A couple more games here. Memphis had their first loss. They were the ones everyone was picking to be the number 12 seed in the at-large bid in the playoff, and they lose a really bad one to UAB, which I thought was really interesting that this happened. Maybe they overlooked them. I don't know, but this was a really bad loss for Memphis, one of the big upsets of the weekend. Any takeaways here?
I was very surprised, honestly. Didn't expect this one. This was definitely a shocking loss for me. I didn't think UAB had it in them. I thought Memphis might be a little bit of a pretender and starting to get a little overrated, but I did not think UAB was going to take them down.
Mm-hmm.
I think Memphis is not quite on the level. I don't think they're top 25.
They had just started getting respect from some people because they had beaten some good teams, and then they go stub their toe against UAB. I mean, that's college football. You're going to have bad weeks.
Right.
Virginia just survived a bad week, and Memphis didn't. So that's how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cincinnati,
I mean, UAB played them tough, and sometimes it goes like that.
Cincinnati continues their big role.
They look much better than I've seen them in a few years.
They've been really good the last couple of weeks and absolutely
Yeah.
destroyed Oklahoma State. He's one of the worst teams in college football.
Yeah.
This was not really much of a match, but Cincinnati's pretty impressive, man. I don't know. They're a tough out.
They're real tough.
And you notice how efficient their quarterback was, 20 for 29, 270 with 3 touchdowns. It's about as perfect a game as you want to have.
Yeah. Yep. So good.
Congratulations to the Bearcats.
You know what's funny about them is the Oklahoma State has the funniest fan base this year because they're doing the it's section. What is it? Section. It's where all these bros go up and they tear their shirts off and they wave their shirts around. And it's called Section 231. Yeah.
Okay.
It's hilarious. And they act like they're winning. It's absolutely hilarious. And the cameras just go to these guys. And throughout the game, this one area, Section 231, it's like way up there. And it just starts to fill because the whole upper deck is empty. And all the bros end up in this one area with their shirts off, and they're all swinging their shirts around. And it's hilarious. And they've been so funny. It's become a whole thing. And, Section 231 has become – it started with one single guy who did it. And then later in the game, they started to show more people showed up around him doing it.
Yeah.
That was a few weeks ago. And now it's like a whole thing. It's really fun.
Some adult beverages must be involved, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're having a blast. They don't even care that the fact that they're losing, if you talk to these guys, you'd think they were winning. That's how pumped up they are. Oklahoma State, that looks fun to me. Because why soak in the misery of losing? Might as well make it fun. So hats off to the shirtless people in 231.
As they lose game after game.
Yeah, game after game. Oklahoma State, they have the best fans in football.
So this next game, Texas beats Kentucky in overtime, 16-13. A really pathetic game from a scoring standpoint. Kentucky really dominated this game in most ways, if you look at all the stats.
They did.
And,
Totally
and I just have no idea how Texas won this game. It makes no sense. They played so poorly that they would have lost to almost any other SEC team.
Their defense came through again.
Kentucky goes to 0-4 in the SEC and might have been the only team Texas could have beaten that day. What are your thoughts
I
about
don't know,
this?
man. This defense is really good.
I know it is. It is. But, you know,
5 sacks.
imagine if it was Ole Miss or somebody, you know, like it would have been a
I don't
blowout.
know. I think Texas could have. They got 5 sacks and a pick. The defense basically decided we're not going to lose this game, even though we're supposed to lose this game.
So, thoughts about Texas sitting at 5-2, 2-1 in the SEC? Their offense looks broken to me.
It does. Tom, listen to this. First downs, 26 for Kentucky, 8 for Texas.
Right.
Ouch.
I know.
That's brutal.
Look at the yards
Yardage.
gained. Looked at the time of possession.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at every single stat. It's Kentucky. So
Rushing 137 to 47.
So what are your thoughts? Is Texas going to be able to pull this together? I mean, they're sitting on 2 losses already.
I thought so, but I don't see any sign that they're turning it around. And just being good on defense isn't enough.
No.
I think Arch is going to be okay, but not this year. So,
Right.
I mean,
I agree with that.
they got really good players, Quintravian Wisner. He only had 37 yards rushing. Like that guy's potential NFL.
I mean, their biggest win of the year was Oklahoma. That was a big win. You got to give them credit for that. But even in that game, if you looked at the stat line, it wasn't impressive. So he hasn't really had a
Ryan
big game.
Wingo had 2 catches for 22 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That guy should be in the NFL.
And then if you're Kentucky, aren't you just sick when you look at this stat line? How did we lose this game?
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
I mean, you know, losing in overtime means that you really had a chance to win.
I have to think Texas will drop a third and maybe a fourth loss this year. That's just my prediction.
Yeah.
And they will go to a bowl and they'll learn from it. And then Manning will be back next year for a senior year. That's what I think.
Yeah.
They're just not quite there this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Oregon takes out a can of you know what on Rutgers. It was quite an impressive performance for everybody. Dante Moore, all his receivers, all his running backs, they all ate. And Rutgers looked like they didn't even deserve to be on the same field as Oregon. Felt like Oregon was really angry about the loss to Indiana, and they wanted to come out and prove themselves.
They want to make sure that they were still considered a great team and headed for the playoff, which they are.
I agree. Anything else you can take from this one? This romp?
I mean, Dante Moore had 99.1 QBR. Whew.
Yeah.
And then they had Noah Whittington had 11 carries for 125 yards, and Jordan Davison had 3 carries for 100 yards. So they had 200-yard rushers.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
And did you see what this tight end did for Oregon? Sadiq. They say he's one of the top tight ends going to the NFL.
4 for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
He was unstoppable.
He's going to be playing on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Sadiq.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're an impressive team, Oregon.
They had 3 sacks, 2 picks. Just they looked like a top 4 or 5 team.
Yeah, that's right. So then Pitt takes out Syracuse. Syracuse had that great 3-0 start and has lost 4 in a row. I don't know what has happened to them. They've fallen off the cliff, but Pitt looks like a really solid kind of top 3 or 4 ACC team now. They've gone to 3-1 in the ACC. This kid Henschel, we know, is really good. He had a great game last week and continues to play solid. So any thoughts on Pitt and Syracuse?
Yeah, Syracuse has been a little disappointing. Pitt's always tough. You know, Pitt's always – they're a tough team to face. I wouldn't want to play them. I don't think of them so much as offense. I think of them as really, really tough defense.
They're sound. It's like good special teams.
They're very physical.
Yeah, they're sound.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But
and they play just efficient enough on offense to score points. But
yeah,
I don't know what's happened with Syracuse. They had such a promising start.
They had 3 picks. You know, they had 3 picks. Ricky Collins just seeing ghosts out there, I guess.
Well, I mean, one of the things that happened was their starting QB that they went 3-0 with got hurt. And
Yeah.
so Collins is the backup, and so he just isn't getting it done.
Yeah.
So North Carolina loses another one. That's 3 in a row now. They lose to Cal Berkeley in Berkeley.
Mhm.
Actually, Cal Berkeley's having a pretty good year for them. They're 5-2. Cal Berkeley jumped out on North Carolina pretty quick in the first quarter and just kind of held on tight the rest of the way. Belichick had another really sad press conference 3 weeks in a row. Thoughts about this situation with North Carolina? Is he going to stick it out?
On to Cincinnati.
On to Cincinnati.
Uh,
And what about Cal at
They
5-2?
terrible.
For them, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think Cal did a nice job overall. I think Carolina's reeling and really struggling in so many ways. I think there's just no discipline. I
Mhm.
think they're just struggling to figure out like how to go forward.
Doesn't it
Uh,
feel like 40 guys in North Carolina right now are waiting for the portal to open? That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. They said, "Oof, we made a big mistake here."
Yeah.
Belichick's trying to learn how to be a college coach.
Mhm.
Um, there were some things that went right. A lot of stat categories look decent.
But really,
Carolina ran.
all the stat leaders in this game were Cal. So
Well, no, no. Carolina held its own in some categories, but at the end of the day, when you have 3 fumbles lost and the other team has 0, and there's the turnover margin is this lopsided, you're going to lose. I mean,
mhm.
you're going to
Yeah,
lose.
yeah,
It's
that's
all
right.
these extra possessions for your opponent to try and score with.
Cal has some nice wide receivers and running backs. I was impressed. Got some good talent on that team. SMU wins the battle with Clemson at Clemson. This is Clemson's third loss at home this year, which just never happens. They're usually 8-0 at home every year. But SMU
Yeah.
comes in, they've got a really good quarterback with Jennings, and they just took care of business. They were the better team all day.
Man, when the shine comes off the rose, when the bloom comes off the rose, it's an ugly thing to watch.
It is.
You
So
know,
SMU moves to 3-0 in the ACC. They're right in the mix like they were last year. What are your thoughts about this one?
uh, it's tough to say anything other than Clemson's still reeling in the department. It's like a plane that's stalled. They weren't doing the portal, so they kind of stalled in recruiting. And but oddly enough, both quarterbacks threw over 40 times, so somebody had to
Right.
lose.
That's right.
But Cade Klubnik was out, which is interesting.
This backup played pretty well, I thought, with Zena.
He did okay.
He did
3
okay.
touchdowns, no picks. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
QBR 48.9 is not great, but
He played about as well as you can ask a guy who's never played a college game before. So,
that's right. That's right.
but anyway,
I don't
Clemson
know.
goes down again,
Clemson just
3-4.
they seem like a shell of themselves.
It's true. It's very true. They give up way too many points, way too many yards.
And the
So this
sack
game,
differential, they had 1 sack and SMU had 4.
this was
Kind
the
of
most
a big
shocking game of the week. This was Stanford beating Florida State. Castellanos just doing an average game. Florida State can't stop anybody. They couldn't stop the run. Stanford ran all over them, kind of like Virginia did.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't even know if head scratching is the right word. It makes no sense that all of a sudden Florida State's losing to the worst team in the ACC. What is your take here and what's going on with this situation?
Well, I spoke on it a little bit. I think Mike Norvell is a good coach. I think they're going to fire him, and I don't think they should. I think this game they're just shadows that they can't get past in terms of they know that Castellanos is a major big time quarterback and they can't get him in the right positions. And so they're just trying to eke their way past these kind of relatively bad teams. And these teams are jumping up and biting them. And it's pretty wild to watch. Like the wheels have fully come off.
They
And
went
now,
3-0 to start the season. They got to number 6 in the country, and then they rattle off 4 straight losses.
yeah,
And
they can't get it done.
they look like they've completely lost their confidence.
Yeah,
Every time Stanford scored, they just looked at each other. You could just see the body language. I don't know. The team's kind of collapsed.
yeah,
The
yeah. It's hard to watch.
magic is gone. So I agree with you. I don't think they should fire Novell. They came out today, just as an update, Florida State and supporting Novell, saying that they want to see support for him for the next couple of weeks. They didn't say, next year or anything like that. They just said essentially that the football program was behind him for the next couple of weeks. So have decided not to fire him for now. So we'll see
That's
what
not
happens.
great. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that.
It was
For a
the
couple-
weakest. Yeah, it was the weakest statement I've ever seen, I think, for a football coach. But anyway, here's your AP top 25 heading into next week. Ohio State remains 1, Indiana up to 2, A&M 3. Look at Alabama and Georgia rising all the way up to 4 and 5. Oregon has gone from 8 to 6 after their impressive win. Georgia Tech vaults from 12 to 7.
Yeah,
Ole Miss at 8. Miami drops to 9 from 2. Vanderbilt up in the top 10 for the first time in 42 years. Pretty amazing. What a story. BYU to 11, Notre Dame 12, Oklahoma 13, Texas Tech drops, Missouri up to 15, Virginia to 16. Pretty cool to see that.
yeah.
Tennessee, USF. We talked about how good they've been. Louisville at 19, LSU 20, Cincinnati, Texas, Illinois, ASU, and Michigan. That rounds out your top 25. Who do you think's too high, too low?
Whew, I kind of like it. I think
it's pretty,
Georgia Tech's a little high.
yeah, I think so.
I'm rooting for them on some levels, but I think they're a little high. Otherwise, I pretty much like that. I
I
like
think
that
it's
one.
pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah,
ASU gets back up in the top 25 after the big upset.
yeah.
I think it's a pretty close. I really do. You look
Pretty
at the coaches poll. I thought this was really fascinating that they were exactly the same except for one slot. They had BYU at 10 instead of Vanderbilt. It was the only change.
I think I'm moving Vanderbilt down a few spots.
You think?
I don't think they're 10. I feel like
You
they're
think?
12 or 13.
I don't think Georgia Tech or Vanderbilt or either one are in the top 10.
Let me put you this way. If I'm playing Notre Dame against Vanderbilt, I'm putting my money on Notre Dame.
What if it's Notre Dame, Georgia Tech?
Notre Dame.
I'm going Notre Dame.
So, I mean, I think Notre Dame's a little low.
I feel like Notre Dame should switch with Georgia Tech. I think Tech should be 12. Notre Dame should be 7. That's what I would say.
I might move Texas Tech down just a touch.
I even like Notre Dame against Miami. I think they're a little better.
I wouldn't move Virginia up any more than that.
Yeah. Pretty impressive, though. 16.
Fantastic.
What do you think of that? Some of the coaching firing and hot seats, we had, of course, James Franklin's out at Penn State. He was fired October 12th. So the Penn State job is open. Pretty attractive job. Oregon State fired their guy October 12th as well, Trent Bray. So he's out after 2 seasons. Arkansas fired Sam Pittman a couple of weeks ago, September 28th. And what's amazing, as we talked about, they have played much better since he was fired. They've been like a really tough out. You talked about the mentality of that a lot of times it was a rallying situation.
Yeah. A lot of teams have players that will fight like crazy for the interim coach.
Right.
It's very normal.
Oklahoma State fired Mike Gundy after 21 seasons. He'd been there a long time. They finally decided it was time to move on. So they're looking for somebody. UCLA.
But I'm not sure Section 231 would be as fun if they get a good coach in there. So
that's true. It's not. Yeah, I'm wondering if they're going to keep that tradition or not. UCLA fired Deshaun Foster, who was a great back in the NFL, as you remember, after 2 seasons. and they're 3-0 since he was fired. Pretty incredible, including beating Penn State. So you and I talked about this on the drive this morning about what is the mentality of these teams when they lose their coach and they go out and start beating people with the interim coach. And there's this kind of rallying effect that happens. I don't think it's sustainable, but
no,
happens for a while.
it peters out after a short time.
Yeah.
The good coaching has to win out. Sometimes they're a good coach though in waiting. So
What's funny is it didn't happen for Penn State.
no,
They end up losing to a really bad team. So I don't know. Virginia Tech got rid of Brent Pry only 2 weeks into the season.
that was strange.
Yeah, really weird. Stanford got rid of Troy Taylor in March and have not filled it. Their interim coach is Frank Reich. We talked about him. He's a really good coach. They've been playing pretty well for him with not very much talent. So we'll see if they end up retaining Frank Reich as the permanent coach. UAB fired Trent Dilfer, who was the great quarterback from the NFL, after 3 seasons. He was fired October 12th, and then they go out and do this huge upset against Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I almost feel like I need to study what is the mentality of these teams when they fire their coach and they go do a big
Their
upset.
backs are against the wall, and it's them versus the world and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. Why don't you do this for Trent Dilfer when he's there? You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. Kent State fired Kenny Burns April 15th. They have not hired a permanent coach. So out of these schools, Robbie, what do you think is the best job? What do you think is like the second best job?
Best jobs,
your openings.
Penn State. Best jobs, Penn State, and then
maybe Arkansas,
UCLA or Arkansas. Mm-hmm. I think you can get resources at UCLA.
I think Stanford could be a good job if the university puts resources behind you. I think that could be a good job.
Maybe. Expectations are relatively low, so that's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas.
You got Andrew Luck as your GM. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure UCLA is a great job anymore. But
I mean, it's in Los Angeles. I don't know. I wouldn't want it, but.
So some guys who are on the hot seat, Mike Norvell, we know why. Last year went to 2-10. This year they've lost 4 in a row. Florida State Nation is just really getting upset, and they're wanting maybe to go get prime time. So the university again came out today and gave a statement of support for the next couple of weeks. I've never seen that before. It's almost like he's a trial for his job the next couple of weeks. See how he does. But
they don't want to overcommit to him, but they want to.
Billy Napier was fired yesterday. You knew that was coming. He almost got fired last year.
Yeah.
I'd say Florida might be a better job than Penn State.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't on the board yet. I don't know about better than Penn State, no. But I would say Penn State 1, Florida 2.
Yeah, maybe.
Florida State 3.
Do you think Saban might take it?
No.
No. Okay.
No, because I think he's put off right now with the way things are in college. I think he'll come back if he believes that he can get the rules changed. Not necessarily to benefit him, but just more stability in the way students are recruited.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that everyone's a free agent, he says twice a year.
I think
sense.
He might take it. I think he might take it if they throw enough money at him and they throw enough NIL behind him.
I think he would take an NFL job.
I think he might take it. And I think he might.
It feels like there's unfinished business in the NFL.
I think he might relish the idea of going back to the SEC and proving he can do it again. But maybe I'm wrong.
He said that the thing he used to love about college football is gone. So he said that it used to be that you would teach student athletes, how to defer pleasure and rewards for hard work now that pay off later by having good choices and good discipline and good work ethic. You'll get better at football and life, and then later you get your rewards. So he said that lesson was so valuable to him, and what he says it's gone. Like you can't teach that lesson anymore because it doesn't fit with what's happening. They'll hand you a check for, $4 million right now. You don't want to hear about hard work. I heard today Coach Signetti was talking about that Coach Mike Krzyzewski used to talk about the hardest opponent to play against is human nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said a perfect example of that is us coming out of beating Oregon. Indiana just beat Oregon. Obviously, that was a huge game. And he said, human nature is we want to celebrate and enjoy our victory and enjoy what we did. And he said, hard work doesn't go hand in hand with celebrating and enjoying what you did. It's, human nature is, I want to put my feet up and enjoy this one for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Right.
said, your hardest thing is to get them right mentally, to go play a tough game right after you had a big victory, because human nature wants you to take it easy for a minute. And
Right.
so that's fascinating. I think that's fascinating.
It is. So another guy who's in trouble is Bill O'Brien at Boston College. They've just been getting worse and worse every year. This year, it's been really sad to watch. You know how many first downs they had on Saturday in their loss?
No.
5.
Mm.
It's just, and he's an offensive coach. So I watched a little bit preparing for tonight, his press conference, and I don't think I've ever seen a coach more depressed. He literally had nothing to point to that went well. And so
Yeah.
it just feels like he knows it's coming. He just doesn't know when it's coming. But
I wonder if they could bring Bill O'Brien back to Penn State.
Maybe, or as offensive coordinator, maybe.
He steadied the ship when
Yeah,
they
he did.
had all those Sandusky
Why do you
sanctions.
think these great coaches sometimes go to a place and it doesn't work? Why do you think that is? Is it
Oh,
just
because it all has to come together perfectly. The boosters and the support and the coaching staffs and the
because they've
system
had some
and
years where they're really good, Boston College, and
every
they're just
area of the
terrible.
country recruits differently. So,
They're getting left behind by the ACC, Boston College. They really are. They're the doldrums.
yeah, but they've rarely ever been very good.
Yeah.
They might have a Luke Kuechly player every now and then, but they don't have a great team ever. When's
So
the
the
last
next guy,
time Boston College was top 10?
well, let's see. They had Luke Kuechly there. Of course, they had a couple really good
Matt
quarterbacks
Ryan.
there. Yeah, Matt Ryan.
Yeah. But who else? I mean,
yeah, Tim Hasselback played there.
you'll have one good player at a time, 4
Mhm.
years apart from the last one. It's not good enough.
The next guy who's on the hot seat, of course, is Bill Belichick. He's barely been there, just a couple weeks, and already it seems like it's not a fit. We'll see what happens. It looks like Cunningham, for this year at least, is going to let him finish the season out. Then they're going to make a decision
Yeah.
about whether they're going to part ways. I think they will. I think Bill Belichick's not enjoying himself, but we will see. Brian Kelly, of course, LSU, just not getting it done according to what LSU fans want, which is 7-0 and leading the SEC. And they just seem feckless on offense. And we'll see if he's able to survive the year. I think he will survive the season, but there have been a couple of years in a row now after their national championship a couple of years ago. They've been very disappointing to LSU fans. Let's put it that way. What do you think about Brian Kelly? You think he's in trouble?
I think so. I think he doesn't make friends along the way, so he doesn't get any support from anywhere.
He's just angry and yells at people, like
He
even in press
just
conference.
seems real tough,
Mm.
like not fun to be around. Doesn't
Mhm.
make it look fun. I wouldn't send my kid there. He's probably a nice guy. He just doesn't come off that way.
Mhm.
I don't know. X's and O's wise, I think he's relatively genius level, but I don't know. As a coach, I don't think he
They
has.
handed him a national championship program, and it's not that he's driven into the ground, but it has not been improved.
It's dropped.
You can say that. You can say that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dropped for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Luke Fickell.
did
Luke
quite a bit
Fickell.
building him up, and he handed it to him in good shape. So
Luke Fickell came from Cincinnati, had a really good career at Cincinnati, and he came and took the Wisconsin job a couple of years back. They were thinking that he would do to Wisconsin what he did at Cincinnati, which was make it a really good program. And they have just been very bad the last 2 years and getting worse. They literally can barely get a first down. So it's starting to think that his seat was not hot at the beginning of the year, but now it is.
Yeah.
This is not going to get it done for Wisconsin Badger fans. So
No.
Hugh Freeze, we talked about. Auburn isn't used to losing like this. They just dropped their fourth. And they're looking, like you said, at Alabama and Georgia. That's who they model themselves after. And this guy came from Liberty, which is a small school in Virginia. Had a lot of success there and has not caught fire at Auburn like they thought he would. So let's just put it that way. Any other thoughts on all these coaching, firing, and hot seats?
Yeah, I think each one needs to be looked at. If you're the athletic director or the general manager, whatever your system is for your school, you need to sit back and say, am I going to get better by firing this coach? And I think usually the answer is no.
Have you ever seen?
Every now and then you'll have the coach be the problem, but then there can be other problems that are not the coach's fault.
Have you ever seen it like this mid-season before? I've never seen this many. 20 hot seats.
I have,
This
but
is
I don't think
crazy.
everyone should be on the hot seat. I think losing, don't throw a tantrum. Take a look at it, see if you can figure out why are we losing and what what can we do about it? Do we have any short-term fixes, long-term fixes? Are we building the right way?
But doesn't it feel like
direction?
there's triple the hot seats there usually are? It just feels like because people have
Feels
no
like
patience.
Feels like more than normal.
Yeah. People have no patience anymore. So our winners of the week, we got Oregon, absolutely blasting their team after their one loss this year. A&M, like you said, they may be the best team in the SEC potentially, or one of the top 2 or 3. They're really good. Alabama's back with Ty Simpson playing really good ball, good defense. Virginia continues their really magical season, 6-1 now. They're actually, if they win out, they could go to the playoff, which if you and I had said that 7 weeks ago, we would have thought we were crazy.
We would have been laughing.
Thinking that was even a possibility.
Yeah.
Indiana, the hottest team in the country. They're up to number 2 now. Had a really fantastic game again. And then, of course, the Louisville Cardinals with their big win over Miami. Any problems with any of these?
No, but I'd throw Vanderbilt in there.
Yeah, I could have put Vanderbilt for sure.
Yeah.
There's no question with their win over LSU.
Yeah, it was big.
Losers, Miami with their first loss and looking, unfortunately, a lot like Carson Beck did at Georgia. He has these games sometimes where you kind of scratch your head, what's wrong with him?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know that I put Miami in that, but they didn't have a good week, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just put them in there because this is, they're on a glide path to an undefeated season. And
yeah, it hurt.
Stubbed their toe.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, same thing with the big loss to Arizona State. That was really a surprise. The Trojans with their narrow loss to Notre Dame, unfortunately, looks like it might have taken them out of playoff contention. So they're a loser of the week, although they are better this year. Ole Miss with their loss to Georgia, coming in undefeated, just can't get over the hump. I know it's very frustrating for Ole Miss fans. Nebraska inexplicably losing to an unranked team and just totally putting themselves out of any kind of Big Ten contention. And then, of course, Penn State, 4 losses in a row and totally directionless. I thought they might get a little rallying effect after James Franklin, but it didn't happen. Anybody else you'd add here?
No, I don't think so. You could throw Florida State in there.
We had them the last couple of weeks, and I just figured they lost so many games.
Yeah.
Our subscriber challenge of the week, guys. Biggest long shot Cinderella to make the college football playoff. What do you think it's going to be? We got USF, Louisville, Virginia, BYU.
I think it's BYU.
Cincinnati or Texas.
I think it's BYU.
You think it's BYU is the biggest long shot Cinderella to make the college football playoff?
Yeah. I think they're going to make
USF. I think it's USF. I don't think BYU is a Cinderella. I wouldn't really classify them as one because it looks like they're going to win the Big 12. But I could see why you would say that. I think the biggest Cinderella is going to be USF. I think they might get that 12 spot. I could see Louisville or Virginia being that as well, potentially.
I
think
can't.
I think Texas is going to get a third or fourth loss. I don't think they're going to be in contention. Virginia or Louisville, one of those two, the only way they can make it is to win out. So drop us a comment, guys, who you think the biggest long shot Cinderella to make the college football playoff. Second one is best running back in college football. Who do you think it is? These are the 5 leading guys in the stats right now. Got Ahmad Hardy from Missouri, Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame, Nicholas Singleton, Penn State, Makee Hughes for Oregon, and Isaac Brown for Louisville. Those are your top 5 guys. All going to be really good pros, by the way. So, Robbie?
I don't know. I don't know.
I would say Jeremiah Love, after watching him this weekend, dominate a really good, what we thought was a really good defense.
I think Jeremiah Love has the best chance.
Yeah, I think he's the best running back in college football as of week 9.
Yeah.
Drop us a comment, guys.
I don't think enough of the quarterbacks have separated themselves.
I agree with that. I think maybe number 2 might be Singleton. He's just a really great. You can see the pro potential.
Yeah.
With him, if he was just on a better team.
But he's going to fall apart now that the team they're always going to be behind, so he's not going to touch the ball as much. The pro scouts know, but that doesn't mean he's going to win the
You'll see all 5 of these guys get drafted, by the way. Backs are really important in the NFL.
Singleton can definitely help any team in the NFL, except for a couple.
All right, Robbie, I'm going to hand it to you. But before I do, I thought this was a really funny meme of the week. Because you and I every week seem to change whether we like college more or pro more this year. And the good news is they're both really good this year.
I have to say, college this year is pretty amazing.
I thought this was a funny meme with the NFL girlfriend getting upset.
Best parts of the NFL are kids that have just come out of college. So,
right.
College is bringing.
I have felt different every week. I really have gone back and forth, which one I like better. And that means they're both good. So I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. Let's do thanks for the fantasy football segment at Real Estate Investment.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one that we heard a mailbag item from you guys about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And we inserted that segment in because you guys said you wanted it. So yeah, thanks for the comment.
Yeah, that was from last the NFL one. Love seeing all these young guys have such huge impacts. Same kind of thing, just from all the young players that have hit the NFL.
Yeah, in our last episode, we talked about stars are rising. So yeah, thanks for that comment. We also enjoy watching these young guys, these rookies come up. You can see the 2 guys behind Rob there in the screen, 2 of the real young impacted players right now.
Yep. This goes back to our last week's college on-campus review. It said, big fan of this content at Randy Ward.
Hey, thanks, Randy. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing.
And more of this, please, at Donald Logan Ruiz.
Thanks, Donald. Yeah, we'll bring you as much as we can. We're bringing you all the action. There's so much to cover. We can't cover it all, but we do our best. So.
And just to finish, this is gold. Ryan Morales.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. What a comment. We love to hear that kind of positive.
So some fun, encouraging, quick little comments. We really appreciate them.
Yeah, this is gold. That's good stuff. Thank you so much.
That's the mailbag. Keep them coming, everybody. We like hearing from you.
We really do. Yeah, and Rob loves the mailbag segment. It was his idea. it's been a really good thing to talk about the feedback from you guys. Please drop us comments. We love them. And we'll always read them on air when we get a good one. So, Robbie, heading into week 9, man, what are you looking for?
Starting to get closer to bowl season. You're starting to have a bunch of teams eligible for bowls now, which is very exciting for those programs. It's good news for their programs in terms of being able to have extra practices. And there's all kinds of benefits that go to a team that goes to a bowl. When you don't go to a bowl, you lose a lot. So um, not only do your alumni not get as juiced and therefore they open their checkbooks, but it's a lot deeper than that. That's spring practice is the first time a lot of, it gives you like an extra month of practice.
True.
And that's helpful in developing the guys that are coming out of high school, because they're having to compete with guys transferring in their position who've already established themselves at D2 schools and smaller schools and stuff like that. These guys have tape out. So it's hard to be a college freshman or, in your first year, maybe you get redshirted and you're coming out of your red shirt and there's a guy coming into your position who's like a 4-star All-American or something, second team All-American or whatever. So,
True.
Yeah.
So I'm coming up to see you guys this weekend, and we got to find a place to watch the Virginia-North Carolina game at noon on Saturday. So
Sure.
Go to a sports bar or something, maybe Ruckus.
Who knows? But we'll probably get our Jersey Mikes and go see it somewhere. I don't know.
That will be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of great games this weekend. I don't know if we'll have quite as many upsets, but we'll see. There's a lot of still good matchups coming up this weekend. So,
yeah, I'd say it's gonna be a good weekend to get on DraftKings and throw some thoughts down. Do your research. We're not specialists in handicapping, but we definitely enjoy seeing all this action. Really makes for good drama, and that's fun.
Go download the DraftKings app right now. Go check it out. And like I said, there's some really good bonus programs you can take advantage of. So, guys, thank you so much for joining tonight. So much great sports going on. We're doing our best to bring it to you. And please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time on the Sports Guys.
Thanks for joining us. See you.
See you.